Hey guys, this is Dhiyanesh Ravichandran presenting you this episode of Motorindia's Trans Report. The construction activities and the equipment manufacturing business has taken the hardest hit out of the ongoing pandemic and the prolonged lockdown. As we know, the construction equipment industry in India is one of the largest and fastest growing across the world. And to understand more about the specifics of the impacts of the pandemic on this industry and the road ahead, we welcome Mr. VG Sakthikumar, who is the Managing Director of SCHWING Stetter India Private Limited, one of India's leading concrete construction equipment manufacturer. Let's try to understand his perspectives on the impacts of the pandemic on the construction equipment industry. Yes. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time with us. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dhiyanesh.
Yes, sir. So just to start with, on a personal note, how is the lockdown and what are your personal experiences and takeaway from this whole pandemic in your personal life as such?
Okay, actually, we understood that this type of events, one should be prepared mentally to face it in any point of time, because most of us, our generation or even the one after us, it's something new. We never had a situation like this, even though it was there in other parts. We very rarely or experience this type of situation. Point number one. Point two is, it is end of the day how well one is emotionally and psychologically strong enough to respond to the developments. If you see what happened actually was, one day we had a Janata lockdown, and after that lockdown 1.0. Right. Then there was a hope always that after the end of this it will be all right, and extension was not anticipated in the first 1 or 2. Then we were anticipating now. We were expecting in lockdown now also, but all our calculation with respect to business, everything. So whatever we were planning, it was become very dynamic. So it has made a new way of thinking. Right. That hope but don't trust that can happen. So we be prepared for another development and be prepared for that. So that is one thing which we never experienced. Even in the business sector, when it goes down, reasonably know that when the factors are likely to come up, and you'll see the signs of green shoots, so you know that things are going to happen next couple of months. But here it is very unpredictable situation. That is one thing. And second thing is immediately recovering and then focusing on what is in your control rather than waiting and watching on what is in somebody else's control, the government or the medical fraternity. Rather you look at what processes you can make it better. So there are many internal processes which we could work upon, and we had a regular interaction with our team, the leadership team, and we were in a position to accomplish many things which were otherwise would have moved slowly. Right. And scenario building, and then seeing what can happen. So this is one of the reasons, even in the month of March, we came out not so badly hurt, in the sense, even with the sudden locking down, we were able to reach our average monthly invoicing, where around 70% of that we could reach. Right. And also export little bit helped us, so we could focus little bit on that. And in the month of April, we are able to do around 20% of our average monthly billings because of focusing on the export consignments and shipments. Right. So that way, I would say that many things are new, and we also understood what is the minimum resources required to run an operation, because there are restrictions and number of people coming to the office, no public transportation available. So we could test what with the minimum resources or what maximum we can produce. Right. So sometimes what happens, this type of I wouldn't say inefficiency, but this type of factors will get built in without you realizing them. So right. We were able to identify and respond to that now in this situation. So a lot of learning process, I would say, because of this pandemic and the following lockdowns.
Right. Okay, sir. So on a larger scale, as far as the construction industry is concerned. Hello. Hello.
I'm able to hear you.
Yeah. Am I audible?
You are audible, but there was some disturbance.
Right.
Never mind. I can get you what you are saying. Not a problem.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it is very good now.
Yes, sir. So so on a larger scale, as far as the construction equipment industry is concerned, what is your assessment of the pandemic impacts on manufacturers and dealers? And what is the situation right now after 2 months of lockdown? And now we are almost at the end of lockdown. We do hope so.
Right.
So what is your assessment of the impacts as such?
Right. Firstly, I would say that this pandemic has had a severe impact on business, and especially on our industry, construction industry. In multiple ways, I can list few of them. Number one, I would say everybody sees that the migrant laborers.
Right.
Construction industry has employed the maximum number of migrant laborers. Okay, they are there in MSME, operating in the shifts also. But if you see any typical site anywhere, the people are migrant laborers who stay in the site and they work. And their absence in the site is a big problem for the sites to progress further. And when you talk about construction industry, there are two major groups, I would say. One is the real estate and commercial and those type of activities. And other is pure infrastructure activity like building of roads, highways, ports, airports, power projects and hydropower projects, metro railways. All this comes under another category of infrastructure project. So there, since the money was flowing from government to run the project, some of the responses from the government is to release the old outstanding and all. So relatively, they were able to come back quickly back to the site. Even though there was challenge about the manpower, in terms of restarting, they got the concession first to start the operation in the projects which are far away from the containment zones or red zones. So they were able to start first. And then they did not have a financial problem in the sense they did not have outstandings big time, and most of the finished work got cleared. Government also announced certain soaps like their bank guarantee for the finished amount of work will be released. So that increased the liquidity. So I would say there is a fresh thought or a fresh hope in that segment, where people are just waiting for to move forward. Maybe there is going to be some hindrance with the monsoon rains in the next 1 or 2 months. But going forward, the second half we expect to be very good for the infrastructure related construction activities across the country. Okay. But it is all subject to one important thing, how well the containment of the spread is happening. We talk about all this lockdown reduced the peaking in the phase 1, and they are saying that they are expecting another peak 2 or 3 likely to happen, like what had happened in the previous pandemic. So we don't know when that will happen and how severely will it get affected and which places are going to get affected. I think in the first phase we saw NCR, Mumbai and Chennai are the big affected areas where the population was quite dense, and the cities where it became a little challenging for everybody. But we don't know what will be how it will pan out. But if you see, most of the construction activities related to infrastructure for us is in Maharashtra, like high-speed train, Trans-Harbour Link, coastal roads, Samruddhi Expressway connecting Nagpur to Mumbai. All these things are currently, which is progressing at a good pace, are in Maharashtra, and they were the maximum problem. Let us say that a big percentage of India's problem is there because of the spread very fast. So we cannot judge that. Even going forward, how the things will pan out, it depends on that. But overall basis, I'm making a comment that second half, we are going to see a good revival because all government plans, other than the liquidity related for MSME and various sectors like small scale or even the construction, infrastructure, agriculture, everything is going to help people to restart. But if the investment of the government directly is going to happen maximum in infrastructure, because that's the best way to reach out the money to the individual's hand in the, in a long shot. Many industries are dependent on infrastructure. I believe 9 industries are directly connected with infrastructure, so that can pick up.
Right.
There is another angle to construction industry is most of our equipments requires trucks which need to be mounted on chassis. For example, our truck mixer, our boom pumps, and many other products. So they are also going through some serious problem, not only related with COVID and slowdown which started in 2019. They are in the transition of Bharat stage 4 to 6. So they need to ramp up the numbers and then bring out the new models of trucks in a massive scale. It is again a demand supply situation. They are going to respond to that, but we are connected with that. So their revival is also important for us, for those products to come back to normalcy. But on overall basis, my take would be the second half of this year. Second half is I'm talking about the calendar year, because our financial year is same as calendar year. So I'm talking about July to December, 2 quarters, we could see some revival.
Okay. Right. I mean, that's quite interesting. But right yesterday, ICRA came up with a report stating that many of the states, especially as you mentioned, like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and bigger states, the state governments will be coming up with budget cuts for these infrastructural projects like road building and dams and any other project as such in the coming financial year. Which will seriously impact the construction activities, right? As considering that the state governments are under serious debt and they are still fighting all their means to make sure that the pandemic is addressed and everything. So in that case, how do you see the outlook for the coming, say, 1 year or so?
Actually, that is one school of thought, but there are other symptoms what the governments are doing and behaving during this phase. I would like to little bit talk about that. Some states like Tamil Nadu will be going for an election next year, right? So they would like to maximize the visibility of the progress during this year. This is very logical. We have seen this type of a trend in most of the states which went for an election.
Right.
So this year we expect Tamil Nadu to continue with the investment. That is one school of thought. The second thing is with the turnaround of pandemic, which is offering new opportunity, India as a nation, where people are talking about sourcing more out from India. The countries which are traditionally not looking at India started looking at it. We are talking about relocation of companies from other Asian countries to India. And then we are talking about our Prime Minister's thought process of having more local manufacturing in the future, in the coming days. So combined all these things, you would see that many states are going for reforms of their labor regulations, and some investing on a new industrial park to attract, some rewriting the policies towards inviting all these companies into India. I think this is also happening parallelly. So we have to see what actually the government is doing also. Okay, I'm sure that report is based on solid information, but you can see this also parallelly happening. Special teams have been created in some of the states to attract investments, task forces, and every state is vying for that investment to come to the state. So that they will get a wrong message if they know that this government is not keen on development and infrastructure, because infrastructure is a must. Any company who's coming is going to look at some basic 3-4 points related to decision making and where to go. So one of the key things is, say, for example, tax, the labor, and the ports, and then the local logistics and the industrial base, skill sets of the people around that area, all these things. I don't think we have natural advantage, and that is all not going to get compromised. So we expect more even things to happen. There is one more thing there. There is a national infra pipeline, what is called as NIP. If you see the rate at which they want to spend on infrastructure in the last 5 years to the coming 5 years, so it is going to be double. The amount investment is going to be double. If you talk about from now on to next few years, the maximum amounts are going to be spent initial years. And it is going to taper in the day. It is not like that first they'll spend less and the subsequent year they are going to spend more. It is not like that. They're going to first spend more in the current year and then it is going to taper down. So those things are auguring really good for the industry.
Okay. And the other side, as you said, the real estate business, which is a major share for the construction activities in India. Now, considering that the pandemic has put a huge burden on the personal disposable income of individual and masses, the demand for new houses and new apartments will naturally come down, right? So, do you think any shrinkage in demand from the real estate sector for construction activities in the coming year?
I would, okay, even there is going to be immediately, there is going to be shrinkage because we are sitting with big inventories, okay?
Right.
Till the time that is sold out, the people are not going to venture for new projects. But let us look little long term. For example, the hospitality or healthcare industries and, the e-commerce companies and the logistic companies for deliveries, they need more space. Because the nature of our purchases are changing, our habits are changing. Personally, for me, I'm doing everything on the e-commerce sites now. Then I'm venturing out because that is also safe for me. So I think everybody talks about to learn to live with this infection or COVID situation, and we can expect something similar also in the future because we are getting for the first time this experience. So if that happens, so then these companies are going to do very well. And for them, the biggest challenge is going to be the space, and which means there is a lot of construction activities, a different type of construction activities, where there is going to be storages, warehouses, and delivery centers. So that type of construction activity. So there will be reduction in malls and those type of where public gathering can get postponed. Immediately it will not happen. And maybe we will have more hospitals, and the government is also planning medical colleges across the country, plenty of them. So these type of things will become more because this experience will also make the government and the private enterprises in the healthcare industry to invest more on with the facility and their capability to ramp up if there is a situation like that. Everybody has understood that. And all this has to happen on some sort of a construction. So there's going to be digging, there is going to be filling, there is going to be concrete, steel, cement, everything. So there will be a shift in the demand from what we are used to a new set of activities.
Okay. And what is Swing Stetter's status in this regard? Like, have you resumed your company's operations, or how are your dealers coping up with this crisis? And what are your strategic plans in the coming 1 year? I'm sure that those plans that you had before for this financial year needs some kind of a revision, right? So just tell us a little bit on that regard.
Firstly, okay, I'll tell you. I'll talk about the expansion later. First, let me talk about our opening, our operation. As I mentioned to you, in the month of April, we got the permission from the local collectorate to ship the finished goods which are lying with us. Okay. So that is how we moved all the machines which are meant for exports. Because interstate boundaries were not operational. So a port is within the state. So we moved a lot of our material through the ports. And then there are a couple of high-profile construction sites where the government themselves gave permission to move from the client side. They placed their truck to it. So with that, we managed our April. Moving to May, what had happened is there was a delay from the actual date of opening because of various reasons. But finally, what we got confirmation is for 50% operation. We can operate with 50% of our regular employees who are coming to the factory. So we started, I think, in the second week of May. We first took a couple of days to set up all the SOPs which are required for this pandemic to make sure that people come and work in a safe way. So once all that were done, we started around 15th of May. And we are doing with not with the 50% of our staff, maybe further reduced, maybe around 25 to 30. The reason is something else. because since the public transportation is still not available, we have to bring people with our own efforts. That means our buses with the reduced capacity has to pick up the people from the nearest point where they live. This is one challenge. What used to happen is many of them used to come park the bikes in one location and then get into the bus. So that is not possible now. So we have to identify only those people who are in a position to take the bus without these hassles. Second thing is, the rule says from pandemic zones we are not allowed to bring any people. Okay, for the safety of rest of the people who are working in the factory. So that again, you see, these districts in which our factory is working is, we are in Kanchipuram district, and our employees come from workers and employees come from Tiruvallur or Chengalpet, Kanchipuram, and Chennai. So all of them are in a problem area, like they all are in red zones, first of all. And a lot of the places are in the containment area also. So we are doing what is possible and minimum required. So that is the level it is going on. I would say that we are operating with the 25% of the capacity. And we are targeting around 50% of our normal invoicing month, not more than that.
Right.
Again, the other challenge is the shipment to the customer sites. And the biggest problem above all of this is the financing companies, NBFCs, who are the ones who are supposed to give the delivery orders. They are also in the process of understanding the new benefits what they got, the announcements which gave from the government of India. So I think it is going to take some time. So this month is very subdued in terms of dispatches. We expect the next 3-4 days the volume to pick up for this month.
Okay. And
talking about expansion, I have not talked about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a new factory under construction, which was supposed to get inaugurated in this month or next month. But now 3 months work got stopped. So it is going to get delayed by 3 months, slightly more, because even that construction site is allowed to work only with the 50% of the employees.
Okay.
So we are going to take slightly longer time. And if we say SCHWING Stetter, we came to India registered the company in 98 when the market was very bad in India. We moved into our first premises, our own premises, in 2001. Then we moved the second one to 2000. We built the second one in 2004, third one in 2007. And 2008 onwards, up to 2015, it is wobbling and going, our industry, our GDP as well as our market for construction machines. But we opened our next one in 2011 in middle of big crisis for the business, because we believe more in the long-term potential of the country, not on the monthly or yearly results of the industry. Right. So the potential, the gap in the infrastructure in India is very high, and we are a vibrant economy with a lot of appetite for growth, and we expect in the long term it will be helpful if we have the right type of manufacturing facility. So we are going at, earlier we used to operate from 4 factories plus 1 rented factory, 5 factories in 38 acres of land. Today what we are constructing is another 50 acres plot, which is in the final stages of completion. Most probably we will be next quarter we will be inaugurating that factory, and we'll be starting some new products there.
Right. Just on this.
Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just on that regard, now considering that China was the starting place of this pandemic, and there has been a serious disruption of supply chain, which is linked to China, more so in the automotive and even in the CE industry, I guess. Now, SCHWING Stetter, part of XCMG, are there any disruptions in terms of sourcing of your components, or any disruption in supply chain that
I would like to say, sure. I would like to say that SCHWING Stetter, when it came in 98, it came as a German company to India, right? Subsequently, the ownership changed in 2012. Okay. All our products, what we manufacture, is designed by the Germany.
Okay.
And all the components what we bring for manufacturing them, all also from Germany. So our regular production for construction or concreting machine is not affected, and hardly we buy anything from China.
Okay.
So we are not at all affected. Even in the month of February, when they went for their January, when they went for their festival, New Year festival, or even subsequently they had a issue for dispatches, we were not at all affected by that. Our supplies are going on smoothly. But we also trade the machines made in China completely, products which we import and sell. By middle of February, our supplies started. When they came back from the New Year holiday, they started the supplies, and we have huge consignments coming even now without a problem. See, because there the whole problem is contained confined to Wuhan, so not into the facility from where our machines are coming.
Okay.
So that way we are not affected. For the finished product which you are trading from China, there is no problem because it is completely tested, painted, finished, and shipped. And as far as our one concreting product which we manufacture in India, it is not affected because we are not dependent on China.
Okay, right. And I just want to move on, get your perspective on this 20 lakh crore stimulus package unveiled by the central government. Where does construction equipment industry fit in that package? What is your understanding or perspective in that regard?
So actually, I would say that the liquidity is the first target in this whole SOPs what the government has announced. And we hope that the banks, which are the final decision makers in disbursing, we do the right thing. You know, it is very recently the whole announcement had happened, and there are a lot of paperwork still pending and understanding the how it is going to happen, when it is going to happen. We hope that money reaches out to all the people. For example, some of our small contractors also come under the category where they can go and take a loan from these SOPs which are announced. And our big ones, the corporate construction companies which are really into hardcore infrastructuring, they got all their money. And then there are a lot of new projects which is getting announced even during the first 2 quarters of this year. So they are also not worried much about this particular aspect. So we see in overall basis in different ways. If you see, the real estate got connected. I already mentioned about releasing of bank guarantee for finished work. All those things are very, very positive things, and which are going to make more money available in the hands of our customers.
Okay.
So then the migrant problem, there are two sides to that. One is it is bad; they need to get them back. But I also see a speed up of mechanization because of this. Because people are available who are thinking that we can manage with the only people, they will start adopting methods like the developed countries in Europe, where the people are not available in big numbers to carry out the construction activity. So certain level of mechanization is going to improve. So that will help the sea industry, because people are going to depend on more machine. So that requires some upskilling of the people. So already we in SCHWING Stetter started a massive reach out to train people remotely through webinars and things like that. It is quite successful. From the day of first lockdown till today, already we have crossed training around 7,000 different people across India. And we also come out with a new training calendar where innovative tailor-made programs are made so that it is very useful for somebody who want to upskill themselves.
Right. All right. So on a final remark, now considering that post this pandemic, many people say that there is going to be a new normal. So what is the roadmap or road ahead for the construction equipment industry? Are there going to be any massive restructuring in the way manufacturing or even business used to happen? For instance, many dealers switching to online and e-commerce platforms for their businesses, something like that. What are your key takeaways on these kind of changes that you perceive?
Actually, e-commerce is a good alternative for a situation like that. But traditionally, customers to get used to that, it's going to take some more time. If the pandemic and then lockdowns are going to be there for longer time, the absorption will be faster. If the hope and then is there for returning back for the post-pandemic type of a situation, then there could be some delay in the whole process getting absorbed. Secondly, some of the equipment which are very, very customized, I still would think that the customers will go for the traditional way of procuring them. And see, if you know, for an example, in an automobile, we also have certain products like our truck mixture, which goes on a truck chassis. There is a lot of experience in the market because currently around 50,000 machines what you are delivered are plying on the road. So customers know what is a machine is and what is the scope, what kind of changes they can customization they do. Such a product is likely to get into the e-commerce platform, in my opinion. So where everybody knows what is your, I think it applies to automobile also. If it is going to be very exclusive product, I don't think the people will just go and unless they have the familiarity of the product.
Right.
So that's I think that is going to be there and that is going to grow in the future also, with or without pandemic. But the takeoff will depends on how longer we stay in this lockdown situation. Okay. That is my take about the e-commerce thing.
Right.
But other than that, today we find the interaction between the colleagues and even the meetings. We all realize that it works much better to have such meetings than physically having a meeting. Okay. There are a lot of other efforts which goes into that, traveling and then leaving your seat and coming to the conference room. So much of saving of time is there that we see as a big benefit for productivity. Okay. And going forward also, we are not very keen on bringing back everybody to the factory. Maybe we will earmark certain percentage of people time to be doing their work from home. So okay. This is one takeaway for us. And already even today, since there is a restriction for 50%, other than people whose hand they touch and really lift the things in the factory, we are not asked the other people to report it. Right. So the other supporting functions are operating from home only. Maybe there are other areas like research and development. They need to sit together and there is data security for them. And they need to come to the factory. So that will continue in that way. There are some testing and those type of activities is there. So they will continue to be commuting. So, I mean, we are in the process of forming our ideas. I think soon we will get it implemented. I think 1st of June, we are hoping for the numbers to go up for the month of June. Then automatically we will have a clear roadmap on what is what. But at the moment, we are experimenting different things. Okay. To see what all things can work and increase the productivity and reduce the cost, which all are the key things to survive this tough period of time.
Okay, but in either way, there is going to be a new normal, and you're telling me that the new normal is going to be in a positive way.
Positive way, absolutely. There is no doubt about it.
Right.
Because by habit, we have had so many misconceptions about how to do things, but those things are challenged now. And then we have proved also that it can work better in a different way. So I think going forward, it will be much easier. Right. Especially the one thing I can straight away tell, all internal review meetings, there is no requirement for anybody to travel out of their seat to really do that in an effective way. Right. I think luckily for us, we have already invested on to quite a lot on digitalization and this type of activity. So I think that is helping us in a big way now.
Right. All right. We do hope for the best, and the sooner the industry recovers back, the sooner it is better for everybody. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. We'll be on our toes as well. So keep us updated from your side, whatever, any new initiatives, anything that happens. We will also be active. And we are also coming up with different videos every day so as to bring in different perspectives from different sectors of the industry. So stay tuned, and I thank visitors and our viewers as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dhiyanesh, you and your Motorindia, and also all your regular readers of this magazine. It was a pleasure interacting with you. I'm sure we will keep in touch, and regularly I'll be following what is happening in the industry.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Our pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.